Hello, welcome. This is Hot Edition on 3FM92.7. We're also live all across the world on 3news.com. Also live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. I am Alfred Ocansey. This evening, majority of Ghanaians believe free senior high school policy has improved access to secondary education in the country, but a rating of government's overall performance in addressing educational needs has dropped significantly. We have more from CDD's Afrobarometer report indicating a whopping 44% decline in government's performance in education sector since 2017. We'll tell you why and what has led to this heavy decline in the provision of educational needs for the educational sector. That's according to the CDD's Afrobarometer survey. There's some data to this. Stay with us. And as Asante Krobia withdraws from the NDC flag bearership race very late in the election process to throw his weight behind former President John Mahama to lead the party into the 2024 general elections. We hear from him on his reasons plus details on the balloting for the three remaining contenders here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We have the latest in business, entertainment, and sports coming up over the next 60 minutes. I am Alfred Ocansey. Welcome. And let's get into it now. As a majority of Ghanaians say the free senior high school policy has created opportunity for many students to have access to secondary education. That's according to a latest Afrobarometer survey conducted by the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, Ghana. The survey conducted between 2019 and 2022 revealed that close to 9 out of 10 Ghanaians, that's about 87%, said the free senior high school policy had created opportunity for a lot of students who otherwise could not afford secondary education. The public was, however, divided on whether the policy should have targeted only the poor in society. Now, this has been a heavy issue of debate. While 50% of the respondents said it was better to have free senior high school, even if it led to an increase in the number of educated citizens who cannot find a job, the other half said the government should have put all the necessary structures in place before implementing the free senior high school policy. And we've monitored this and updated you on all the issues and concerns about the free senior high school policy that both parents and indeed the Council of Heads of Assisted Senior High Schools have raised, and then also NAGRAT, NAT, and then also the Coalition of Concerned Teachers have all raised concerns about some of the aspects of the free senior high school policy, which is affecting the quality of education at the senior high school level. The public was, however, also on this matter quite heavily as to whether it should be targeted at the poor or having a wholesale approach of the senior high school policy as we've seen now. The report also revealed positive ratings of the government's performance in addressing educational needs have also declined by 44% since 2017, from 82% to 38%. Let's go on to the telephone now. Mavis Support-Dome is the Afrobarometer national investigator for the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, Ghana, on this. Thank you so much, Mavis, for joining us on Hot Edition. So, first off, what informed this survey, and share with us some of the key findings beyond this decline in the provision of educational needs from 82% to 38% as your respondents put out.
Thank you. Good evening to you and your listeners. So, Afrobarometer is a non-partisan survey network that collects data across right now over 36 countries in Africa since 1999, and do it every 2 years. And some of the issues we track are very standard across these countries. But for each round, each country bring up ask what we call specific questions that have to do with policy issues around the time of the survey. And you know, in 2017, government commenced the free SSS as part of its campaign promises and fulfilling its campaign promises. So in 2019, when we were doing the round 8 round of surveys for Ghana, it was still a topic of discussion around the issues of how it's being implemented, infrastructure needed, and even including the government had to introduce the double track system in order to accommodate the increasing number of enrollment due to the program. And so we wanted to gauge citizens' opinion on these issues, particularly as we know, Afrobarometer pride is that we give voice to the citizens on citizen issues. So with regards to free HSS, we wanted to know what citizens thought about the free SHS and policy in general and some of the issues around its implementation. And fast forward after 2019, CBD as an institution again, we do this our regular pre-election and post-election survey. So as part of the post-election survey, some of the policy issues that government had included, of course, the free SHS. So in 2021, when we're doing the post-election survey, we also asked some of the questions, and some of the questions around them were infrastructure that could accommodate the students. So we asked questions around that. And one of the standard questions since 1999 is around looking at government performance, economic performance, governance performance, social service performance, which education is part of. So since 1999, we have been tracking government performance in terms of education delivery. So in terms of that, this is just the findings you just mentioned that it has taken a nosedive since 2017. Some of the things we found yet in the survey is quite interesting and from the citizen perspective, and in terms of their general view on the free SHS. A large majority, about 76%, almost 8 in 10 of Ghanaians, if you take 10 Ghanaians, almost 8 of them are saying that the free SHS policy has created an opportunity for people who would have otherwise not been able to afford secondary education.
I see.
But when it comes to the issue of whether the policy should have targeted just the poor, you will see a divide in the view. One of the policy debates that is ongoing is
whether there should be a needs assessment, so it's able to identify those who really cannot pay, and so then the state comes in to assist, instead of what we are saying now with the wholesale implementation of the free senior high school, so that those who can actually afford are also taken care of by the state. But then that's
But then, for that one, citizens are actually split in their view. While some are saying yes, they feel that the policy should target only the poor. Almost the same percentage also says they disagree. It should take a wholesale. So you have 48% saying they agree it should just target the poor. Then you have 46% saying no, it should be wholesale and where everybody benefits.
Pretty interesting development there. Stay with me, Mavis. Let's go on to the other telephone line. And Divine is a senior research fellow at the Africa Education Watch, one of the foremost education CSOs in this country. Divine, thank you so much for joining us on Hot Edition. So this is what the CDD Afrobarometer survey has put out there. Now, there's been a decline in the government's provision of educational needs to the educational sector by about 44%. But this high approval rating for the free senior high school policy. Citizens who responded to this survey are split on whether there should be needs assessment to identify those who cannot actually pay, so that the state can assist instead of the wholesale application of it. And in your view, what should be the takeaways from this, especially for the policy implementers, government, on this matter?
All right, thank you, Alfred, and good evening to your listeners. And we must commend DDD for their continuous research into education and other space and bringing out this findings on education. I've gone through the report, and indeed I have noticed I might say in some of the instances there is equal opinion, especially when it comes to whether the program or the policy should be targeting the poor only or not. And then in instances whether the program government should have put in all necessary preparations in place before starting the program or not. There has also been a divided opinion on that one as well. But on our part, we continue to make the case for the fact that it's not only even about whether free SHS can be implemented or not. We have seen government doing it since 2017, and people say government is not complaining. Of course, government is not complaining. And if government will never complain. Government will always find the money to run a policy, but we must ask what the opportunity cost is. And at our end, Edward, we had always said that the opportunity cost for so far sustaining the free high school program is that basic education is being deprived of the necessary funds for the program sustainability. So the divided view on the part of Ghanaians as to whether the program should have targeted poor or not. But we will believe that it gives us an indication that we need to continue to heighten our public engagement and education for people to understand the ramifications. Probably people don't understand the ramification of this wholesale approach of running the freshman high school. In the first instance, the policy idea was to ensure that the poor also have access to education and ensure equity in its secondary school education program. But so far, that policy objective has been defeated, and we need to avert people's mind to that by ensuring enough public engagement. I'm sure that will also help to ensure that citizens understand the ramification of this wholesale approach.
See, and as from what we're getting from government, there's a review of certain policies because of the economic situation that we find ourselves in. The free senior high school policy is one of the policies under review at the moment. That was indicated by the finance minister during the presentation of the 2023 budget. If there is any aspect of this policy that has to be changed immediately, what would that be, Divine?
It should be directly getting parents to be part of this whole program in terms of its financing. We must admit that government in its current form cannot continue to show that the entire cost of running the freshman high school program. Like I said, it is the basic education financing that has been deprived over the years to so far ensure its sustainability, and we can't continue on that target. So government will need to have a conversation to involve parents, especially in the feeding aspect. If you look at the freshman high school budget, 70% of it mostly going to feeding. So it tells you that the budget line is heavily dependent on feeding. If the government can invite parents to be part of this by taking part of this feeding cost, I'm sure it will lessen the pressure on government so that funds can also be available for other subsectors of the education area, because there are several subsectors. We are talking about the special education subsector. We are talking about the TVET subsector. We are talking about complementary education subsector. All these subsectors, they need funds. So we can't just focus on one subsector, which is the secondary school. There is a need for government to reduce its funding, and that calls for parents to be part of the funding process. Like I mentioned, the feeding especially, so that the 70% of the SHS budgetary that goes into feeding can be lessened to ensure that resources are available for other subsectors of the education sector.
In fact, the issue of the review is not only shared by you, and indeed, Mavis, I'm sure that you have recommendations in there. But hold on a bit for me. This is Alhaj Yakub Abubakar, who is the president of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Senior High Schools, also calling for a review of the free senior high school policy in its current form.
Free senior high school is a good thing that Ghanaians generally have embraced. And in every new thing that you begin, you are likely to come across some challenges. depending on how you address the challenges, you move forward. Now that issues are becoming clear as far as the challenges are concerned, I'm sure the proponents of the policy themselves will see the need for a sitting to be done so that the whole thing is looked at holistically, so that the challenging areas we find how we can address it. If earlier there was the understanding that the state was going to carry everything on its shoulders, but it is becoming clear that it is a huge burden on the state, and so other stakeholders like parents should also come and support. I'm sure they will look at it and maybe give way for that to happen.
So that's Alhaji Yakub Abubakar, who is the president of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Senior High Schools there. Mavis, so after this Afrobarometer survey findings, what were the recommendations?
So this findings, as my two colleagues rightly said, the policy is a welfare policy, and that means that more poor people should be able to benefit. Yet still, if we could take it wholesale, what does it mean? Can we sustain it? So for us, these findings show clear support for the policy and divided views on whether it should really target the poor. At the same time, it shows that people are not satisfied with the way things are, the education sector things are being implemented. And if you look at it, free senior high school is one of them. And people even, from the findings also shows that people expect more infrastructure development around them. And it's the issue of sustainability, it's the issue of where will we get the resources from. So in reviewing the policy, as I said, it is good to bring in all stakeholders, including parents, really put out there, educate citizens around the issue of where really funding is coming from and what are the implications of these findings, so that together the policy can be reviewed to meet the needs and targets of the policy. And so if you read further, disaggregating the data into demographic, you will realize that more of the well-off-to-do people seem to support the idea that it should target the poor, even compared to the wholesale. So that means that, yes, there are people out there who are really ready to also support government in terms of implementing this policy, and therefore we should discuss around the issue of how best and who should best target, should it be wholesale or not. And if the well-to-do are really ready to say that the less privileged should be the ones to be targeted more, then it's really a good start that we can, in reviewing the policy, we can look.
Mavis, thank you so much for this. Appreciate it.
Yes, well.
Divine, I thank you so much for your time as well.
All right, thank you, Alfred.
Great. That's Divine Pehe is a senior research fellow with the Africa Education Watch. Also, Mavis Zupo-Domi is Afrobarometer national investigator for the Center for Democratic Development, Ghana, on the latest Afrobarometer survey, which has revealed that majority of Ghanaians say the free senior high school policy has created opportunity for many students to have access to secondary education, but there is concerns about whether or not the policy should be implemented in its current form, where government takes up the cost of every senior high school student, even if they can pay. So there have been proposals to have a needs assessment to identify those who can actually not pay, so that the state can step in to support. We'll see how things play out, especially with the indication we're getting of a positive review of some of these policies because of the current economic situation that we're faced with at the moment. But he was touted as a surprise ticket in the race for who leads the NDC as flag bearer come election 2024. The businessman, prior to picking his nomination forms, was largely unknown to many within the umbrella party. The expectation was that he would pull out of the contest before paying the 500,000 cedis filing fee. Well, guess what? He turned up at the party's headquarters with the check and his forms. experts concluded that Ernest Asante Kwabena was keen on leading the largest opposition party, the NDC, into the 2024 elections. Having attended to the vetting committee yesterday, Mr. Kwabena was expected before the committee again, only to announce his decision to withdraw from the contest. Speaking to the media, the businessman said he is now backing John Mahama to win the flag bearership of the NDC. Take a listen.
Hold out. I give you my support to JM, and it's a good decision for our lovely party to move further for future.
You knew JM was standing or he was going to contest. Why didn't you support him from the initial stages and you have to go through all this process before giving your support to him?
You have your right to make a decision, innit? You can make your decision by yourself. So I made a decision by myself to support the old boy, and that is the best decision for the party and myself.
People will say that you have wasted your time. What do you have to say to that?
No. We're coming back again. We are not wasting anybody's time. And it's the best decision I took for the party. Thank you.
You were asked to bring further and better particulars. Did you bring them today or you couldn't meet their criteria?
Please, I did bring what they asked me to do. And I made the decision. Myself and my grandfather made that decision.
Well, there you have it. That's now Ernest Asante Kwabena, who was pulled out of the NDC flag bearership race. He was the only unknown out of the four, or amongst the four persons who had declared their intentions to lead the NDC as sixth flag bearer going to the 2024 elections. And I'm sure that if I mention Kojo Bonsu, he comes to mind as the former mayor of Ocansey. If I mention Dr. Kwabena Dufo, he comes to mind as the former governor of the Bank of Ghana, former finance minister, and John Mahama, former president. But this gentleman, when he came in as a surprise to the package, many were expecting that he was going to fall off even before this point. He showed up with the 500,000, but now he says, look, he's done with the race. But the former Ocansey mayor, Kojo Bonsu, also took his turn at the vetting committee today. He expressed optimism about passing and going through with the vetting and also getting the vetting committee's approval.
I was asked about the economy, our Social Democratic Party tenants, and how I would rule Ghana. Obviously, a question that you cannot miss is my tenure in office in Kumasi. It's not easy to go through such a vetting, and I think I'm so confident and I trust myself that qualified to become one of the people to lead NDC if the delegates vote for me.
Well, that's according to Kojo Bonsu, the former mayor of Ocansey, who is also seeking to get the mandate of the delegates of the NDC to lead the party going into the 2024 elections as his flag bearer. After today's proceedings at the vetting committee led by the former Speaker of Parliament, Edward Jaho, they said that the committee did not in any way intimidate Ernest Kwabena into withdrawing. This is Edward Jaho speaking to journalists earlier today.
Today, the 29th of March, 2023, I announced to you that 3 out of the NDC stars who applied to have their names on the ballot paper for the presidential primaries of the National Democratic Congress have sailed through the vetting successfully. The 4th, Mr. Ernest Kwabena has voluntarily withdrawn from the contest and has communicated this to us in a letter in his own handwriting. The 3 are His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, Dr. Kwabena Dufo, former Minister of Finance, and Honorable Kojo Bonsu. We have also conducted a ballot for the position of the candidates on the ballot paper for the 13th May presidential primaries. The candidates' positions are as follows. Number 1, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Number 2, Kojo Bonsu. And the 3rd position on the ballot goes to Dr. Kwabena Dufo. All of them did well before us, and they all satisfy the conditions. If you look at the NDC guidelines, one, you must satisfy the qualification and eligibility as prescribed in the 1992 Constitution. You have to satisfy the party constitution, and you must also satisfy the guidelines issued by the National Executive Committee of the party.
Well, so that's the former Speaker of Parliament, Edward Ajaho there, who is chairing this entire vetting process. But the party, as you heard there, therefore cleared 3 aspirants to contest the flag bearer race, and balloting was subsequently done by representatives of the 3 aspirants. John Mahama is number 1 on the ballot, Kojo Bonsu number 2, and Dr. Kwabena Dufo number 3. Kakre Sama is a member of the Elections Committee of the NDC, is joining us on the telephone. Mr. Sama, thank you so much for joining us on Hot Edition. So, I mean, you observed the process as well. The question is, if we had Doa Jaho talk about they all did well, but how well did they do as per the expectations of you, the election committee of the NDC?
The election, you mean the election committee's opinion of
expectation? Yes.
We were very satisfied. It was done in a most friendly manner, and all the questions were answered satisfactorily. Even before then, we had gone through their nomination forms and found out that they had answered all the questions satisfactorily on paper. And so on paper, there was absolutely nothing wrong with any of the 3 candidates. And I am not surprised that with their performance, both on paper and orally, the vetting for them was successful.
And we've seen now 1 out of the 4 pulling out. I mean, does this come to you as a surprise, especially because many expected that he wasn't going to go this far because, one, he wasn't known in the party, even though this process is democratic as the party upholds the tenets of it. But then again, this development, your take?
Yes and no to your question. Yes, because as you have suggested in your question, there were many people who thought that he wouldn't go far, but he came as far as paying the nomination fee, which is quite a hefty amount. And then came to the vetting too. Then, surprisingly, he decided to withdraw and aborted the whole process. So, of course, I am disappointed that he couldn't go further than that, but he has withdrawn. We must respect his rights. So that is it.
So what happens now, and between now and May 13, seeing candidates are already campaigning strongly?
Yes, now they can campaign, particularly the 3 people who have been vetted successfully. They can go on and campaign as rigorously and as vigorously as they can. Make sure that the executives who vote on 13th May have really bought into their message, and hopefully one of them will emerge as a flag bearer.
I see. Now, with the and this I know is subsequently going to come up, especially with when the vetting of the members of parliament aspirants comes up. With what happened in parliament, where the party gave a directive about 39 of your MPs, that's on the NDC side, went contrary to the party's position. Is this going to in any way inform certain measures you're going to put in place during the process of vetting to ensure that persons who put themselves up as parliamentary candidates on the ticket of the NDC commit to abiding by the directives of the party?
No, we haven't made any fresh additions to the guidelines that were drawn up some months ago. What happened was unfortunate, yes, but we haven't made any additions whatsoever to the guidelines that will guide those who do the vetting. So you'll be vetted according to the rules that have been set down. That's all.
And would you also back calls for the party to institute investigations into this so it doesn't occur again?
Pardon me.
I'm asking if you would also support those who call for investigations to be instituted into this so it doesn't happen again. I mean, as a party.
You are talking to me as a person?
Yes.
Whether I will support any such investigation?
Indeed.
No, we haven't taken any such decision yet. When we do, we will let you know.
Great. Zama, I thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
As always. Kakre Samoa is a member of the election committee of the party, that's the NDC, talking to us there, giving an indication, and there's some details of what the party intends to do going forward. Now, he says that he was surprised that an ex-Kobia actually pulled out at this point in the race. I mean, this is Kakre Samoa, who is a member of the election committee of the NDC. But Ernest Kobia himself is joining us on the telephone. Mr. Kobia, thank you so much for joining us on Hot Edition. So, well, what informed your decision to pull out of the race at this point?
No, I decided to support my brother and my father, JM, for him to go forward so he can secure the 2024 election for us for successfully. And you know I'm a calm person, so I decided to support with all my supporters, and everybody is happy to help us to win the 2024 election.
Well, you knew about this. I mean, you knew that he was your father, your mentor, and so on. But right from the get-go, you knew about this. But you still decided to take a decision to contest him. And so why now?
As you know, you have your own decision to make, and I have my own decision to make. It's my decision, and my grandfather supports that.
Your grandfather?
Yes, that is the reason I made that declaration today. And even in the party office, they are all shocked because the vetting, everything is okay. I went down there to go and pick up my number so I can get my position. And then I told them that. So they asked me to put it in writing, and my lawyer was there. So we did it.
I see. Just for the benefit of the listeners, who exactly is your grandfather? And if you say he supports this agreement?
Please, this is nothing to do with my grandfather. Please,
I see. So are you going to be giving back the 500,000 cedis filing fee?
Oh, don't worry about this. This is the family issue. And as I said to you long time ago, previously, I said I will support everything for GM to become the next president to save Ghana from the condition we are in at the moment. So,
and that's interesting to hear. Then again, but so are you saying that that 500,000 is your donation to the party? You're not taking it back?
Please, you know certain things we can't talk on the air. You know that. So don't worry about it. It's a family decision, and I'm very, very happy the decision I made today. And all my supporters, including my grandfather, was very, very happy the decision. And we wish JM all the best. And I'll start doing my campaign strongly for the senior brother to retain power.
Mr. Kobia, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Okay.
I can only wish you all the best on this. Well, this is it. This is what's happened. That's Ernest Kobia. He is pulled out of the race. But the question of whether or not he's going to demand his money, he says, is a house matter. So whatever happens, we here will definitely update you on it. But Transport Minister Kweku Fori Esiama has asked transport operators to support the National Road Safety Authority in its plans to ban commercial minibuses from long-distance journeys. The minister, who gave an indication he wasn't aware of the directive, eventually backed the directive, requesting for media support. The National Road Safety Authority said it will be compelled to restrict such buses to intra-city services or routes not exceeding 40 kilometers. This follows the death of about 17 persons in 2 separate accidents in the eastern region over the weekend. But the plans by the authority has not gone down well with the operators. The Concerned Drivers Association has described as unreasonable the plague-during issue, and that measures alone cannot end road crashes if equally important factors are not tackled. But at a media briefing earlier today, the sector minister appeared to have no idea about the plans by the National Road Safety Authority. I just want us to take a listen to him on this.
You said you are going to ban what?
Then a radius of about 40 kilometers.
Okay. But the per law, do you have that power to do that?
Yes, under the law we have.
The new LI?
Yes.
Okay. That is good. And I think that we are developing this country together. And if it is that we need to take certain measures to protect our people, I need the support of the media in the course of this thing too, for you to support them. I'm sure people will come out, they will complain. But if it is that that's the decision we need to take to protect lives, I think that let's support them when they try to institute such regulation.
Well, that's the transport minister there. Apart from the Concerned Drivers Association, also the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, has also raised concerns about this, about the lack of consultation and also the decision taken by the National Road Safety Authority on this matter. We'll see how the coming days will look like. But the transport minister also laid blame at the doorstep of the Ghana Maritime Authority and the Ghana Navy for failure to ensure the safety of passengers on the country's lakes. The minister, who was responding to questions of safety of water transport at a media briefing here in Accra, noted the responsibility solely lies with the authorities and treating the Maritime Authority to increase its patrol system operation on the lake to 24 hours.
The accident that occurred on the lake is not by government infrastructure, but the private sector ones that they use. I think the National Ghana Maritime Authority, in conjunction with the Navy, are the ones who are responsible for the safety on the water lake. And at times, some of these things do happen. So the last time that this thing happened, I think that I called a meeting between the two agencies that they need to make sure that at least they increase their petrol system on the lake, because at times they close, and when they close, some of these traditional canoe operators don't follow the rules order. They don't my information that they don't operate 24 hours. So I've told them that if possible, they can do a 24-hour operation. The Navy is asking me to buy them an additional speedboat so that they can do, but you will see. It's unfortunate. But I think that so far, in terms of regulation and infrastructure, Ghana Maritime Authority have done so well. But there's still the need for improvement, and I'm sure that going forward, they will take cognizance of the lapses.
Well, so that's the transport minister there, and the Institute for Economic Affairs, IEA, has also been calling on the political parties to commit to the reforms of the 1992 Constitution at a seminar on reviewing Ghana's 1992 Constitution, viewpoints from political parties. The General Secretary of the PNC, Janet Nabella, also called on government to urgently put more pro-poor measures in place to cater for the needy in society.
Someone is in, the person is not having any relatives, the person can be in that shelter. So once we do all these policies, the PNC is asking that we should have pro-poor policies for the vulnerable in society. And single mothers in Ghana is something that we should be looking at. We have places like Dosu, Juvenile Court, Legal Aid, and other places whereby they ask them to go. But when the person goes there, the person is in a cry here, he runs to Kumasi, then the Legal Aid people will tell the woman that go and look for him. If you can't look for him, you will take care of 3 children alone. Government should be able to provide allowances or something for single mothers so that in case they get the money, they make the man to pay back the money or he goes to jail for it.
On his part, the National Director of Communications of the NDC, the National Communications Officer, Sami Jemfi, indicated that the National Democratic Congress is not against calls for review of the 1992 Constitution. The NDC, however, wants specific aspects of the Constitution reviewed immediately, and that is the appointing authority of the President to appoint the Electoral Commission and the commissioners, and then also the law on a vote of censure must be amended to ensure that when Parliament takes a decision, it shall be binding on the President to carry out Parliament's decision.
No time is not on our side. Madam Chairperson, the first provision is Article 71. Other political parties have already spoken about the need for Article 71 to be reviewed, right from the President to the lowest rank public officer. In doing so, we think as a party that we should have a look at some of the practices that has been in existence since 1992, particularly the practice of government officials buying state bungalows, government land, state property such as vehicles and so on. Parliament, after it has gone through all the necessary motions, passes a vote of censure in a minister, the president may revoke the appointment of that minister. The operative word here is may. We think that that should be amended into shall to make it mandatory, so that when Parliament has exercised its oversight and has censured a Minister of State foreign on behalf of the people, the President should not have any discretion to change that. Either than that, then that whole exercise becomes an exercise in futility. Number 4, we believe that where the Constitution provides for Parliament to approve certain acts or decisions or to elect certain persons, such elections should not be by secret ballot.
National Communications Officer of the opposing NDC, Sami Jemfi, there. It's our time for business. Some 16 minutes to 6 p.m. here on Hot Edition on 3FM92.7. Nanekia Mensa Abrampa is standing by. Nanekia, what's the latest? What do you have in there?
Right, Alfred. So we'll be telling you more about projections made by the Institute of Energy Security. You heard they have projected some 2 and 5% drop in fuel prices. But today I had some interaction with the Bank of Ghana, and they are actually saying, they are reaffirming what the Vice President said, that Gold for Oil program has contributed to this reduction beyond the Ghana cedi, which you know has stabilized, as well as the price drops on the international market. But exactly how that plays out, I'll be telling you more, as well as the latest on the T-bills.
Great stuff. Let's get into it.
Right, it's time for business now. Good evening to you. Thank you for staying with us. Let's get to our very first story for this evening. And the parent company of Zenith Bank Ghana has set aside $267 million to cover the steep losses it suffered from the domestic debt exchange program, according to Bloomberg News Agency. Zenith Bank is the latest to receive support from a mother bank to account for holdings in government bonds. According to Nigeria-based Zenith Bank PLC, which runs Zenith Bank Ghana, the domestic debt restructuring resulted in huge losses to the group. Its impairment increased by some 130 million cedis from 2021. Ghana's move to restructure most of its public debt, estimated at 576 billion cedis, that is some $49 billion, is weighing on banks from the UK to South Africa. The government exchanged 87.8 billion cedis of notes that paid an average of 19%, with bonds returning as little as 8.35%, resulting in losses for the financial institution. So that is the latest. Zenith Bank being the latest to receive support from its mother company after the domestic debt exchange program losses suffered. And talking about T-bills, investor interest in treasury bills declined last week as the government missed its auction target by nearly 24%. Some analysts fear the government could again miss its reduced target of 1.3 billion cedis for this week, following an increase in the policy rate that is from 28% to 29.5%, the 150 basis points increase there. The hike means that returns on OMO bills of the Bank of Ghana, another investment instrument, would match the policy rate. Well, the development, according to market analyst Kojo Lecha, would make treasury bills less attractive. We'll be telling you more about that in our subsequent bulletins. But just before we go for business, this comes after Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said the Gold for Oil program is on course to lessen the burden of consumers at the pumps.
We know that
prices of petroleum products have been projected to drop between 2 and 5% in the next window, which is in April, according to the IES. But for the Director of Financial Marketing at the Bank of Ghana, Mr. Stephen Opata, he believes that the Gold for Oil program, he's reaffirming what Vice President Dr. Bawumia said, that the Gold for Oil program has really contributed by dropping about 50% at the ex-pump price at the various pumps and lessening the burdens of the consumer. Let's hear him speak.
We know that there's enough gold to be able to sustain this program. and there's interest there, right? I think the important thing is that other BDCs must come on board, embrace the program. Initially, we're targeting about 60% of consumption, right? Now, if we get BDCs to be part of the program, all of BDCs are on board, then this program can be a very sustainable one. So we are still seeing what's happening, and we think that there's enough gold to be able to support the program, at least for the foreseeable future.
Okay. All right, so that's the Director of Financial Marketing there, Mr. Stephen Opata, who remains, well, he is still confident that if the BDCs come on board and they come together to embrace the Gold for Oil program, the program will be sustainable. But let's hear him again talking about how it has contributed on the ex-pump prices beyond the local currency stability as well as the movement on the international market with regards to oil prices.
For example, has fallen by about 12.1% year to date. But if you look at ex-pump prices, they've fallen by almost 50%. Okay, so whilst we recognize that the international oil price is having an impact on ex-pump price, that's not the full narrative. Part of it really has to do with the Go for Oil program, because we are able to, it's created a lot of competition in that sector, and that is also impacting on price. But more importantly, we are able to use this facility to procure oil at competitive prices, which we are translating to the ex-pump prices. Okay, so I think that what I want to share here is that, yes, ex-pump prices have dropped, and a big factor to this is not only international oil prices, but this program.
And that was the Director of Financial Marketing at the Bank of Ghana, Stephen Opata. They're ending it for the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Nana Ikuya Mensah Brampa. You'll get more business news updates on our website, s3news.com.
So what's going to happen now, Nika, is that government is now moving from regulator to a player in this market and sort of shutting out the BDCs
but
entirely.
They're asking the BDCs to also come on board. I think they want to bring all of them on board. And, well, I think we should give them a benefit of doubt, Alfred, because this is what we're seeing. 50%, that is what is coming from them. We would have to hear the side of the BDCs too, who may have some concerns when it comes to...
I think the major issue there is the transparency bit. Yes. There's a lot of opaque dealings in this entire process, and so many are asking questions about a lot more light shown on the process. So get to know, for instance, how much we're selling the gold to the suppliers of these finished products to us, because we are not buying crude oil, we're buying petrol and diesel. Okay, so how much are we selling the gold to the dealers?
So the Bank of Ghana give us some data. I think that so far we have done 166,000 in terms of the purchase, valued at $314 billion, if I remember. I have the figures right.
So far the consignment that has come in under this gold for oil has cost us about $314 billion.
Yes.
In monetary value.
Right.
I see. Pretty interesting. Yeah, we'll interrogate a bit more.
Days ahead.
Indeed.
Right,
Thank you so much, Anika. And Alfred Sulabe is here with all the news in the world of sports. Yeah.
Alfred, thank you so much. Let's get into the sports news this evening here on the Hot Edition. Now, in the Ghana Premier League, King Faisal took all 3 home points in a 5-goal thriller against Karela earlier today. Now, the Inshallah boys won by 3-2, and other results in the Ghana Premier League had Bichim United beating Dreams by 1-0. Also, Bekum Chelsea joined 1-1 with Adriana Stars, and then Samatex, I beg your pardon, beating Kotoku Royals by 2-1. Tamale City also beaten in Swatreman by 2-1. Now, due to heavy rains, the Mediama game against Samatex has been postponed to Thursday, and the first half of the game ended 0-0. Now, also, former Black Stars player Sam Johnson believes there's juju in football, but players need to still train to succeed. He stated this.
Also, when you are doing comparison, sometimes we don't do it well. Assuming I'm a Christian, as I am, I believe in Christ fully, and then maybe I'm looking for a job, and I put my CV in front of the altar, praying every day, morning, Monday to Monday. How am I going to get a job? Why some people take their CV, depositing their CVs everywhere. But me sitting there because I'm waiting for the angel to come and pick them. It's the same as juju. When you do the juju and you don't train, means that the juju will score for you or the juju will play for you. Then you are 100% wrong by doing that. So it's here and there. If you don't believe it, then that's fine. If you believe it, that is you. Because we all have been in this thing. Let me tell you this story. There was a game, I think I've said this story before. We're playing a game, I can't remember the African Cup, which country team that we are playing, but it's African Cup. And I was doing good, but the goal is not coming. And then somebody told me, Tale, the old man said you should put your hand under your foot, your boot and rub it in your face. And I did that within 2 minutes. I scored one most beautiful goal in that game. You understand? And
Right, his name is Sam Johnson there, and sharing his experiences on juju in football. If you want to catch the full interview, you can watch it on GPL Express tonight at 9 p.m. Let's move on now to some more stories. And Asante Kotoko fans have revealed that they are pleased with the sacking of Burkinabe tactician Seydou Zerbo. The club announced Zerbo's exit earlier this week.
I believe it is quite refreshing and news for us, the supporters. If you are at the stadium on Sunday and you watch the match, you could really see there was no technical direction. Zerbo had no imprint on the team. And so for some of us, we believe that it is high time he makes do with, he goes away from the team so that we get a new technical direction for the team.
To build the team, because it came just not long ago. After the Prosper Odim left, we've not been able to have any good coach that will hold the team for a very long time. So I think the management should get a very good coach, search for a very good coach that will hold the team for a very long time, build the team very well so that we can take Kotogo to the next level.
I'm not supposed to take the blames on the coach. The blame is supposed to be shifted to the management. Why? Because the qualities of that outgone coach, we have a similar qualities in Ghanaians, of which they can take up the similar positions as the.
Those were a cross-section of Kotoko fans there speaking on their manager, Seydou Zerbo, who was just sacked earlier this week. To our final story, and Tottenham Hotspur managing director Fabio Paratici may have to step away from his role after FIFA extended his ban in Italy worldwide. Paratici was given a 30-month ban in January after his former club, Juventus, were found guilty of false accounting. The 50-year-old was a sporting director and managing director at Juventus before joining Tottenham in June 2021. Paratici and Juventus have both appealed the decision. Paratici's initial ban only applied to Italian football, meaning he was able to continue working for Tottenham Hotspur. My name is Yao Fusulabi, and that's the sports. Over to you, Alfred.
Juju in football. So what is really interesting, the way he shares his personal experience.
Yeah.
It brings life to the whole conversation.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you believe it?
African electronics. Oh boy. Akofa is here with the latest in the world of entertainment. We're getting to it shortly, and then also a bit more on the VGMAs, I guess, and we'll get into a lot more of it here on Ghana Tonight. And Akofa, what do we have?
All right, coming up on Entertainment Tonight on Hot Edition, from a Galamsey worker to a security man, fast-rising dancehall artist Chaka has seen it all. Now a promising music talent, the Accra Fanfula crooner has earned a lot of street credibility with his energetic stagecraft, earning a nod as a VGMA Unsung nominee. Chaka shared his experience with 3 Entertainment.
From the security side, that time we were doing that security jobs, I went to stay in a Shaiman for Charlie. So I used to perform on karaoke sections, and one guy walked to me and told me, say, hey Charlie, start up doing your own thing. I believe in you, say you can do it and do it better. So I put down pen And before I realized, Chaka is doing massively well.
A lot of street credibility. People even have comparisons that, you and Shatawale, I'm sure you've heard those comparisons that they have done. But what do you think about it?
We learn from the best, you understand? And the street got the best. So if I'll say to everyone out there, even if you are Dadabi, you have to bump onto the street, learn something from there. And me, people comparing me to Shatta, Charlie, onye baby, Papa, ain't me found compare Penny, you bab. Like you were saying, people compare me to Shatta, Stoneboy. Some even say culture, Aqualati semi. Then me, I'm doing something very well. So, it's just, blessings. That's all I can say.
And you had that Chaka with an interaction with 3 Entertainment's Ajwa Noella, in an interaction with 3 Entertainment's Ajwa Noella. Moving on, with a successful career spanning over 3 decades, popular Nigerian comedian Basket Mouth has disclosed that he will be hanging his boots in the next 5 years. According to the experienced comedian, everything he wished and prayed for in his career has been achieved, hence the decision to retire.
I have just 5 more years and I'm done.
You're ending
in 5
journey.
years. Yeah, in
when
5
you hit
years.
30 years of comedy. You're done.
I'm done.
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 Never to go back to again.
Never to go back.
Really?
Yeah, it's a plan. Everything is planned now, and I'm following everything accordingly. Yeah, I'm being led by the Spirit.
I love that.
But it's 5 more years, and the reason I know that it's actually time, everything that I wished for, everything I prayed for has happened.
Received.
So I know now that, okay, it's now aligned, because for the past 1 year, the stars have been aligning, and based on what I prayed to God for, and based on what He has shown me, I'm like, okay, I'm not changing I'm following what what we've agreed.
Because you fulfilled your part, it's time to fulfill mine.
Yeah. So now, and God has been amazing.
I love that.
And God, I will say this to everyone listening, God is amazing.
Yeah.
Never forget that. There's nothing that God cannot do.
I love that.
Always remember that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that's Basket Mouth in a conversation with AJ Sapong and Giovanni Caleb on the 3FM Drive. That's how we wrap up on entertainment here on Hot Edition, powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akof, and join me later at 8 p.m. on Wind Down. Thanks for your time. Alfred is taking over.
Akofa, thank you. Akofa comes your way again at 8 p.m. with Wind Down. Thank you for staying with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. And then also those of you who listen to us on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. Also on 3news.com and on Facebook at 3FM927 and Twitter, Instagram as well. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight. Stay with us on 3FM. The drive continues with AJ, Giovanni, and DJ Faculty. Have a good evening.